Have the mic in position. Uh-oh, it's seasick. Good morning, campers. It's actually afternoon. Greetings. We had an excellent interview I recorded with Mary Holland and Vilma, and we did that this morning, and shortly I will be uploading it. I will tell you, that'll be our next happy video here. I wanted to do this because there's a lot of very important breaking news, and this is my new exciting backdrop. You can see we're up in the clouds, way up high in the sky, right? Good morning, Candace. All right, listen, got to run through this quickly, and I have important links for you, right? What was funny, though, about this interview, man, it was smoking. She was amazing, and it's always such a pleasure to have a conversation with somebody who is so articulate, well-versed, and on point. And she had just come out of oral argument yesterday in federal court in New York litigating the PCR tests as it applies to the schools in New York City. That's in the discussion. You'll enjoy it. Now, she discussed, and I was very pleased, where I know if you've been following me on the other channel and here for quite a while, a couple of years now, I've been discussing fundamental rights and the need for a compelling state interest. And Mary went through that unprompted, and I thanked her. I said, thank you for doing that, right? As opposed to rationally related to a legitimate state interest. And there's a new case, which she also discussed, that came out in November. What is it called? The Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn versus Cuomo. And it's fascinating because it kind of adds a little bit of exception to that Jacobson case from the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's important stuff, a lot of constitutional law and updates on other cases. However, we did not get a chance to get to the Facebook case. So I sent her an email. I said, we need to do this again and finish that. But man, there was a lot of info, and basically I spoke for about a minute and she carried the show. Now, let's bring this to the immediate attention of the links we have here. There's a couple that need to be shared. If you missed yesterday's link, Bezmenov on subversion and demoralization, that's his discussion. Let me see here. I've got this crazy screen going in the background. I was going to try and do this on StreamYard, but there's too many systems overlapping, and I can't take it anymore. It's like, man. And I guess I could turn this way. We'll do this. So I could get comfy and put my feet up instead of nah. All right, we'll stay here. We'll keep the sunlight on our happy sky blue background. So Bezmenov, then I'm going to need a clipboard. We're getting so high tech because I've got a couple of pages here. Bezmenov on demoralization. This is a 13-minute clip out of the interview he did with G. Edward Griffin, I believe back in 1986. However, I listened to it again yesterday, and it's excellent. It seems a bit dated because he's laying out the 4 elements for a takeover, and he's calling the demoralization campaign. It takes 1 generation to infiltrate the minds of students, and we've had several. However, I would suggest that the demoralization campaign may actually be right before the crisis. We've had the crisis. It's kind of morphed a little bit. This was Russian technique, as per Bezmenov. But you look at the crisis of the riots around the country, you look at the non-responsiveness of our government, you look at this election and all of the questions that are raised, you look at the fact that no evidence is being allowed to be presented, and everybody has massive questions, and yet nothing's happening. So that would be a very demoralizing thought, right? Now, as I said yesterday in my happy good news blurb, what if, and it's a what if, maybe a bit paranoid, but sometimes being paranoid is good. What if that our man Biden, let's assume, for the sake of argument, with all these 20,000 troops there, they're preparing for and or planning a false flag attack. They may not know, and we'll see, and hopefully it's not too horrific, and thus that'll be construed as domestic terrorism, and thus Biden can swear in, he can declare a state of emergency, suspend the Constitution, declare martial law, and then pass the Domestic Terrorism Act. All right? That's the scenario, that's the nightmare. Unless you like that idea. All right, so here's our boy Bezmenov, and that would fit into the crisis, and it happens real fast. Check out Bezmenov, share it with the happy idiots that think socialism is a great thing, right? Now, I see you, Molly. Bezmenov. Number 2. Now, we've all been saying, gee, well, if Trump is on his way out the door, when the hell is he going to declassify all of those, we'll call them Russiagate documents? Well, word is, as of yesterday, from John Solomon, from Sarah Carter, there's tweets on it, and Vandersteel discussed it on her show last night. So it's either happening today or is it Monday? I don't understand. What's wrong with Saturday? It's Friday or Monday. Now, Monday, of course, is Martin Luther King Day, a federal holiday. So our hardworking, honorary, or should we call them honorable, representatives and government employees all get a holiday in January. Oh, good. So this gives them another reason to slack off and avoid being responsive and accountable to their representatives. Right? Right. So maybe they'll release it today. Maybe they'll release it on Monday. When is the inauguration? Is it on Wednesday? Yes, that's the 20th. So we're going to have all kinds of happy stuff going on from the 17th, which is what day? I'm looking at my miniature calendar. Sunday. 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. So they're going to have 4 days of purported festivities. Hang on a second. Now, there's some footage by Vandersteel in link number 2 of them strolling around and also confronting Karens who were hassling them about not wearing their masks and social distancing. But I think those Karens should have been stuffing Twinkies down their face, too, because, you know, obese people, they're more susceptible to the COVID. Oh, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was going to say, you know what I mean, Vern? Absolutely. Now, so here's my question on link number 2. Trump to declassify documents. Can he wait any longer? And what in the hell has been holding him up? Why didn't he declassify them a year and a half ago? Well, he handed them off to Pasta Man. That would be Bill Barr, our trusted Attorney General, who, again, didn't address Antifa, didn't find any constitutional violations, but he told his U.S. attorneys to keep on the lookout. What did he say? Keep on the lookout, wasn't it, for any constitutional violations? And, of course, the cherry on top was he saw no evidence of election fraud that would be outcome determinative. But he didn't look. Well, there's lots of good stuff in this show today, boy. Hang on a second. Now, so my thought is, great, so Trump's Attorney General will be out, assuming Biden comes in, and then Biden puts his new guy in, and what's going to happen with the release of these documents? Will there be prosecutions? If he wanted prosecutions, wouldn't it have been good to do it a year or 2 ago? You decide. Okay? So that's my question. Kind of slanted a little bit, but you can see my point. Vandersteel is good. You know, the first part of the show, she hits all of this interesting stuff. The second part of this show, she has her guest on there. She calls it MK Ultra. And I was thinking, oh, we're going to discuss MK Ultra. No, that's her guest. I forgot her name. Those are her initials, MK. So they get cute with it. But it's a fascinating discussion talking about what I would construe as a lot to be assuming things. They may be allegations all about the connection between Epstein and Gates and all of these people and trafficking. And it's pretty amazing. A lot of interesting stuff. Borderline hopium. But it certainly raises the consciousness up, and I think it's worth listening to. All right, next. Here's one. Remember we were talking with Webb and about what he was saying on the 10th, what was it, the 10th Mountain Division. Okay, that's out of Fort Drum. And George was coming up with the theory. I mean, Mr. Blackberry was coming up with the theory that Pence would have to be president so he could issue an expungement order to remove the NSA info that would hide all the criminal activities of those in the House, etc. Okay, sounds like a great theory. I don't buy it. However, voila, there's another point here, but Pence is visiting Fort Drum, the home of the 10th Mountain Division, on Sunday. Really, what's that? 3 days before he's leaving office, and it's being done on the premise of welcoming the troops home who have been on deployment for a long time. Also give them an opportunity to mingle with the commanding officers and or anybody else he might need to contact there. And if George's theory of the loyalty and deep relationship between the 10th Mountain Division and Petraeus is there, any kind of little, shall we say, on the side communications could happen. Now, that's Sunday. Honestly, I'm concerned. What if they try to assassinate Trump this weekend, and then Pence comes in as president and then executes this order? That's a scenario. Not to be too nightmarish, campers, but then again, they could call that domestic terrorism and now have a lockdown. You know, it all fits in. They always got to get two for the price of one on any of their stunts, right? So, but Pence visiting Fort Drum is very interesting. The other point on that is an Amazing Polly's link that I put in yesterday. At the last 4 minutes mark, I remembered why I said there's an interesting screenshot. I couldn't remember what it was. It was a screenshot of a Q drop from June of, what was it, last year? Of 20, or was it June of 19? But what it was talking about was the 10th Mountain Division, Fort Drum, and lockdowns and banning Trump from Twitter or, you know, social media. It's a fascinating thing. It's worth a look at because this was at least, 8 months ago, well, 6 months ago, talking about exactly what's happening. Now, that leads me to believe that these are not good guys pitching this shit, right? And now we have, you know, Prather saying Watnick is Q. Well, if Watnick is Q, does that mean he's a bad guy? Because, I don't know. You show me where there's a good guy in this game. Right? Was that 2018 is a question mark? I don't know. But the link is there on Polly's site, and it's fascinating. All right, hang on. This went out again. Pence visiting Fort Drum, and they're talking about the 10th Mountain Division. Interesting. Okay. Now, let's move on, because that's interesting. Maybe you want to share that. The declassification, I want to know. Please leave a comment when you see it, because we are rolling now. Let's go to number 4. BLM activist gets arrested. Now, I've been told by people that this guy, Sullivan, has got his brother, and this guy is an Antifa BLM guy, and his brother is a Proud Boys guy. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, that they're both working for the same people and they're blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that doesn't necessarily stand to reason. I'm giving you 2 links on this. It's fascinating. The first one is from Utah. That's his hometown television station talking about the dude in Washington getting arrested. Now, this is, who is this? This is John Sullivan? You got John and James. Now I'm confused. But the guy in Washington, we'll call him John. He gets popped, and we have video of him there. They interview the brother in Utah. Check this out. It's a short clip, a couple of minutes, right? All right. Hey, Carl. It's John. Okay. Marsha. John. There you go. BLM activist gets arrested. The second link, number 5, is the activist arrested. Now, in number 4, he's talking about how he is a BLM guy. But they're now trying to connect him to Antifa, and he's saying he's not affiliated with them. Now, this is amazing stuff, and this I got to give thanks to Lynn. Not on these, but the next one. This is incredible shit on Twitter. Epoch Times is the BLM arrested, and there's an analysis in there of some discussion of what had happened, who, where, when, and how. It's fascinating. The stupid TV station in Utah doesn't hit it, right? So that's interesting stuff. This kid evidently was arrested in Utah back in the summer, charged with rioting or inciting to riot and all that. Very interesting. So let's see how this flies. But it appears that the brother turned him in. James from Utah turned in his brother John in Washington. Fascinating. Check this out. And I'm thinking, good, maybe people haven't had enough of this crap in the revolving door. But again, this isn't New York where you have a felony appearance ticket. Violent felonies only get addressed with an appearance ticket. These guys, I don't know that it's a revolving door. I don't know if they're going to hold him, if he's going to make bail or whatnot, but we have lots of people chipping in bail funds, right? Jacqueline, it appears. There's some wiggle room. Good. I'm not sure what it appears means. Another complete sentence and thought just to ping in there now. All right, Epoch Times, BLM activist. So number 6, this is great, and this is from Lynn. This is on Twitter, and you've got to look at this because this is showing the activists, and I don't know if they're BLM, Antifa, or what, but they are occupying a building in Washington. There's a woman at the base of like a balcony on the inside with a bullhorn, like rah, 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 yelling on the bottom floor, right at people's feet, or at people's feet, saying, "Here's how you can get in further," and giving instructions. Now, the true domestic terrorist caught on tape, there's a clip in here, and poke around on this because this is unbelievable, where they actually have a large, I'll call it a log-like thing, a battering ram, where they are smashing in the door and the window into the Capitol building. And these are 6 or 8, 10 idiots. These are not MAGA supporters. They're not pretending to be MAGA supporters, but they got 4 or 5 people hanging on to this log trying to smash open this window. Incredible footage. Where's CNN when we need them? Or is CNN going to try and say that these are Trump supporters? Wow. Interesting stuff. Take a look and share. Now we get to lucky number 7. This is very important. Again, Lynn sent me this. This is a woman who's an anesthesiology nurse in Broward County. That's south of me. I'm in Palm Beach County. Broward is Fort Lauderdale. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, dead center zone. And it says that her boss comes to her and says, "We're going to need to take some of your rooms and spaces next week because we're expecting an influx of COVID cases." So our protagonist said, "How do we know we're getting an influx of COVID cases starting next week?" Right? Check out link number 7, jumping in late. Right? Unbelievable. So it sounds like advance notice. Today is Friday, the 15th. So what we want to do is put this out in advance, and if Broward County happens to get an influx of COVID cases next week, you've got to wonder, how did they know? And our protagonist nurse says, "I am sick of this corrupt system." So the question is, were they looking to juice up some more money, or are they looking to support the COVID vaccine game, heavily Democratic zone, or what is this? But it sounds like a fraud, and it sounds like there should be accountability, doesn't it? So please share number 7. Send that to Webb. I'm going to send that to Webb. And I'm thinking, send this up to Jason Goodman. Maybe Jason wants to get hold of this woman and interview her before the scene. That would be amazing. All right? Next, 8. Now, this is a little different, but it ties into the global plan as we see it. China in focus. And I don't know if this is Epoch Times or one of their other sister networks. It's called China in Focus, which is their show. The first clip in there is food coloring, about how they're coloring the, what is it, not the green onions, you know, the thin onions, spray paint, and treating them, and they're not good. Fascinating. But the bigger problem is now China is announcing massive lockdowns because of massive COVID infections. Now, the question I put here is, do you believe them? Or is this phase 2 of their story to hand off to the WHO and now justify This is, the propaganda pitch to justify the WHO encouraging it and other countries and leaders encouraging it, trying to force up the vaccine, to force further lockdowns, to follow their way with the mess. That was my little paranoid thought. Cindy Sue, hello there. You're saying dark winter. Now, I didn't look up dark winter. I know that Biden made the thing, his comment about it. Got to check what that is. That's going back, 15 years ago, if I recall. But I will look into dark winter. The point is, I'm suggesting this is crap and it's propaganda. Just the way I believe a lot of what had happened early on was also propaganda to feed to the media and push it out and terrorize the world. And you see people dropping dead. How do we know that happened? Now it's happening again after they just declared there's no new cases of COVID. Now suddenly they've got 30,000 new cases and they're shutting down cities. Why is that? Because the world is catching up and realizing that this PCR test is shenanigans. We discuss the PCR test with Mary Holland in depth and discuss Reiner Fuellmich's excellent litigation. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we've got a good link for you on that. That's good news. So this China in Focus is interesting, and I'm just looking at it from that little perspective and spin as to, is this real or is this, Memorex and videotape, and they can order lockdowns and say it's for any reason, and their people really don't have an opportunity to object, to put out any information and say, hey, this is bogus, because they have no free speech there, which is what they're trying to do to us here through their help with Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and other social media conglomerates. They want to limit our ability to communicate. But that whole thing is another discussion. But we know why. Wear your mask and stay 6 feet away. Be unhuman, have no face, because you are a mindless, faceless mass. What a concept, eh? Now, China in Focus. Now, number 9, and I discussed this, and I asked this to Mary about that New York State proposed legislation, right? And she said this has been going for a while in different versions, and then said there's a more important problem, and then addressed it. And I'm looking forward to watching that again, because I'm telling you, man, I got off the phone, I was like, woof, that was amazing, right? Really articulate, focused, and this is a serious litigation attorney mind presenting no bullshit, straight down the line. And I told her it's such a pleasure to hear you lay out the law as it applies to the facts and cases. Outstanding, great content. So that's for sure. I don't know. I think this may have been better than the first interview we did back in October. And if you want to see it, just scroll back and you'll see Mary Holland is there. We did it in October. We had a different background. This is my new upgraded background. The last one was the red one with the magic mirror. Remember? Yeah. Now, number 10, Reiner Fuellmich and his PCR litigation. Now this I have to thank Diamond. Diamond sent me an email yesterday with a link, not to this, but somebody talking about it, and I followed in and I found this article. This is an amazing article. All right, this is an article written, what is this thing called? PrincipiaScientific.com. Latest lockdown lawsuits update by top international lawyer. Now, if you don't know who Reiner Fuellmich is, he's working with the Children's Self-Defense. So I asked Mary before the show, I said, listen, I read this article on Reiner, and they're mentioning that you guys are litigating on the PCR case in New York. She said, yeah. I said, well, I don't want to reveal anything that, we're not supposed to. She said, oh, no, man, we'll talk about that. She said, we just finished oral argument on that yesterday. I said, oh, excellent. So it was really great stuff, loaded with content and hot information. No fluff at all in this discussion. But this discussion with Reiner is an article, and it's excellent. And you will see the precision thinking involved on the PCR test, on the work he's done, challenging this guy, and I keep getting his name wrong. Who said that yesterday? Who let the dogs out? It's a new song, old song. But this discussion where he sent the cease and desist letter to put them on the hook individually. Now, Mary and I had a little debate on that briefly. She wasn't sure if he had sent it, and this article, I believe, says that he did. And in fact, I put it up about a week and a half ago. But the question was, did they send this to the scientific journal publishing the PCR results? And she addresses that here. And in fact, the links are here, and I didn't get a chance to check this again since our discussion this morning. All right? So that's essentially it. Good stuff, 25 minutes. Boom. Check out link number 7, the Broward County to get an influx of COVID cases next week. You got to see this. Holy cow. And then the other one is the link to the true domestic terrorist caught on tape. There's a couple of links in there in different threads where there is some really good video of these creeps, and you will see, and you can share that. And I recommend you do it because the info has to get out. Don't you think? Post it, put it up on Facebook. We'll see if they knock it down, but it's already on Twitter, so they're not going to delete it. So you can whip it around, or maybe they will delete it. But it was there last evening when I assembled this list. And I want to thank my patrons, and I want to thank my contributors. Heartfelt gratitude. I have not sent out my thank you notes, and I am disgusted with myself, but I've been so burnt, and I'm going to send them out just because it's part of what needs to happen, because otherwise people might think that I am a self-entitled boor, spelled B-O-O-R, and that is not the case at all right? There has been insane volume of information in the last couple of weeks, as you know, and I have come up with a lot of stuff and trying to keep track of it and, you know, cut through the crap. And I think I did a pretty good job cutting through the crap, and it's still there, boy. But I don't recommend watching those idiots. It's a waste of your time, okay? Don't clutter your mind. Protect your mind. The gates to your mind are what the evil ones want opened. That's why they subject us to garbage, right? Disinformation, misinformation. Protect it. Listen to good stuff. Read good stuff. And when you do, please use discernment. Decide if it's bogus or not. So the point here is not to lecture you, is to thank you, all right? So let's share, let's comment, let's subscribe, and I am expressing thanks and gratitude for the contributions. And again, I will ask you to continue to support, and I do appreciate it greatly. I have just been swamped here, and you check out this interview with Mary, and it is great stuff for the campers. And I love your comments. Maybe I'll premiere it so I could get in and run chat in the background. But I think I'm going to put that up on the other channel too. It's good stuff, all right? Gene has a problem with link 7. Uh-oh, that's the one with the influx. Well, Gene, I'm sorry to hear you're having a problem. I will check it and make sure it's working. Oh, the one we had the problem the other day, that was me. I screwed up. I had deleted the last digit. So on my notepad, it was showing me an open, but it was pulling it from the hole. So I copied, repasted it, so it was working. All right, guys. Thank you kindly, and the links are in there. And I will be back at you, and I've got to upload this, and we're already getting the day is way ahead of us. And Webby is probably up talking with Ann. I'm thinking she wants him to be her reporter, but he hasn't figured that out yet. Maybe I should break it to him. What do you think? All right, campers, if you like the thinking, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll be back at you later. All right, thank you kindly, and check these links. The little Twitter things are amazing, amazing footage, okay? And oh, by the way, I sent an email to Polly, and I said, listen, 2 points. 1, it wasn't the laptop, it was the server. And number 2, Smith modernization, which we discussed with Mary. And I got to tell you guys, Wikipedia, of course, changed the whole definition in there, and the modernization is now switched over to NDAA, and they don't discuss the Smith-Mundt impact, right? This occurred on January 3rd, just before that infamous moment of domestic terrorism, in quotes, right? Unbelievable. So we got to stay on the case. I'll see you all later. Thanks for tuning in. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and we've got to get more people online for interviews. We'll be back later. FJ out. Thanks.